This week, these are the 10 most popular HECM World Stories of 2023.
Building relationships is the way Mutual of Omaha has grown into one of the leading financial services companies in the world. Our reverse mortgage wholesale division is proud to carry on this 100-plus year tradition. To your borrowers, a reverse mortgage is more than a transaction. It's a promise of a better, more stress-free life. Our goal is to provide you, our valued client, with the best service and support possible so you can focus on helping your borrowers achieve the retirement of their dreams.
Welcome back to the Industry Leader Update. Today we have a special episode for you, bringing you the 10 most popular episodes of this show in 2023. Unlike previous top story episodes, we have published this year the relevant excerpts of each episode so you have some context. But before we begin, please press the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. It really helps us out on the algorithm of YouTube, and I appreciate your support. Also, please thank our sponsor, Mutual of Omaha Mortgage, by clicking on the banner on this page. So without further ado, here are the top 10 stories of 2023 on HECM World. Enjoy. This week, two financial advisors lift the curtain on the resistance of the use of home equity in retirement planning.
When you've got a solution that has a lot of bad perception, you could have headline risk. We're talking about this. I think that creates headwinds, which are mostly misunderstandings. So I think there's just this huge obligation to get people to understand these better, which in my mind is largely on the fault of the reverse industry. I think as an industry, we've done a very poor job of articulating how this works for the more affluent families in a more strategic manner.
So it's interesting, Shannon. I anticipated that resistance, from the organization when I introduced Brian and Jesse to those 170 financial advisors that we support. And what I got was exactly the opposite. And I learned that financial planners, really good financial planners, like the ones that work at WealthCare, are open to any solution if they can understand it, and if it makes sense, and if it's a better way to solve. Everybody, on this call and everybody in this industry knows that we have a massive crisis in retirement planning in this country. And we've been trying to solve, for that through financial planning, holistic wealth management, the linking of a goals-based plan and a goals-connected portfolio, and, good discipline around financial planning for 25 years here at WealthCare. And what I found out after I introduced Ryan and Jesse and OneTrust to our advisors is that our advisors don't have any resistance to a new approach, to a new product. They'll listen to it, they'll understand it, and if it's a better mousetrap, they'll take advantage of it.
This week, why it's time for borrowers to lose the reverse mortgage shame.
Yeah, I just wanted to start exploring shame behind reverse mortgages because I've been in this business 20 years, and I would have thought that after 20 years we would have gotten past this, but it still seems like there is a stigma behind reverse mortgages, and I'm trying to understand why and what we can do to change that. I was at one of my kids' friends' birthday parties, and one of my dear friends who knows what I do, who we talk about mortgages, we talk about real estate, she happens to be a teacher, but she's knowledgeable about the mortgage industry. And she had a good friend who she spoke with who has a reverse mortgage. And that friend of hers was ashamed to express that she had a reverse mortgage. And so I said, well, why? And she said, because her loan balance is now $800,000. She said initially it was only $80,000, but now it's grown. And I said, okay, well, when did she take out the reverse mortgage? She said, well, sometime in the 90s. I said, okay. And then I said, well, what's her home worth now? And she said around 1.6. I said, okay. So she hasn't made a reverse mortgage payment since the 90s. And she still has, let's see if it's $800,000 worth of equity within the home. So how is that not a good situation? But all my friend could see was that she initially had a loan balance of $80,000 and now it's $800,000. And so we explored the conversation. I was not going to let it go because I'm like, you were my friend and you need to understand that this is a good product. Because if you, being my good friend, don't understand that it's a good product, then what do other people think? So I asked her a couple more leading questions. What was happening back in the 90s? Why did she decide to obtain a reverse mortgage? And she expressed that she could no longer work and that she had to go out on disability.
This week, home prices must drop in these markets, and here's why. Now first, let's go to Alameda County, California. Here, home values have fallen by 25% from a peak of 1.4 million in June to just over 1 million in January, according from data from the California Association of Realtors and the U.S. Census Bureau. That's a drop of over $350,000 in just 7 months. Next, Arizona. The Phoenix, Mesa, Chandler metro median home listing prices have fallen there by over 10%. Now, to better illustrate the affordability crisis created by inflated home values and today's high interest rates, let's go back in time. In December 2018, the median home list price near Phoenix was $231,600, and using an average 30-year mortgage rate at that time of 4.5%, that home would require a principal and interest payment of approximately $943 a month. However, today, that same home at today's prices and today's interest rates would cost nearly $2,100 a month. That's a 122% increase. This week, what the HECM is happening to reverse mortgage lending? Let's dive into the data. 14,233 HECMs have been endorsed so far in the fiscal year 2023. That's from October 1st through the end of February. If an average of 2,800 was to hold through September of 2023, we would see about 34,000 HECM endorsements for the fiscal year 2023. However, that trajectory is highly unlikely as HECM refinances comprised 21% of endorsements in October, 17% in November, 16% in December, and 11% of endorsements were for refinances in January 2023. That according to HUD's latest edition of the HECM Snapshot Report. That's over 1,900 endorsements from refinances alone in the first 4 months of fiscal year 2023. The more likely projection is fiscal year 2023 will finish with nearly the same number of endorsements that were recorded in fiscal year 2019. The data is in. Over 10 million homeowners 65 and older are still paying off their mortgage. What they found is 19% of homeowners 65 and older are still making monthly mortgage payments. As inflation continues to prove to be a stubborn economic drag on the pocketbooks of Americans, it's safe to assume that many of these homeowners are now finding that their monthly mortgage payment is a significant burden on their monthly cash flow. According to the firm Personal Capital, the average mortgage holder in their 60s has a mortgage balance of $243,000. Experian's annual State of Credit report found that baby boomers, age 57 to 75, carry an average balance of $198,000, while those 76 and older have a smaller average balance of $163,000. This week, Americans are facing these 4 retirement time bombs. In a January PitchBook article, and that's a news outlet for the private equity industry, it said that private equity returns are now posing a major threat to pension funds' ability to pay their retirees their promised benefits. Then there's property taxes, because one of the unpleasant side effects of inflation is surging property taxes. And then the next time bomb is falling home values. Now, while higher home values, we know, spike property taxes, they have also given older homeowners a golden opportunity to extract some of their home's accumulated value by means of various home equity loans. Inflation. Not since the early 1980s have retirees seen such a significant erosion of their purchasing power. This letter to the Fed should be a warning signal to all homeowners with considerable equity. Last Monday, October 9th, the National Association of Realtors, the Mortgage Bankers Association, and the National Association of Home Builders wrote the Federal Reserve Chairman, yes, Jerome Powell, and the Board of Governors a letter that petitions the Fed to stop increasing interest rates. Now, why should older homeowners with substantial equity be concerned? Because the letter reveals what few real estate professionals or traditional lenders are willing to say out loud. That is, the U.S. housing market is in a precarious position, and so are home values. This week, our exclusive interview with Lauren Riddick. One thing I want to talk about is something that we had discussed called the perfect storm of opportunity. And many originators feel like they're just simply in a storm, right? But there's a perfect storm of opportunity, and there's three primary areas. Today, and then next week, we'll talk about the other two. But today, can we talk about the perfect storm of opportunity with the traditional mortgage market? Where is that opportunity that really hasn't taken off in our industry?
Well, that is a very important point. And again, kudos to you for just getting this word out. I often share with our forward originators, I will ask them, hey, would you rather go into downtown metropolitan area, be it LA, Dallas, wherever, San Francisco? Would you rather go in at 8 o'clock in the morning in gridlock traffic with everybody else? Or would you rather be coming out of the city at 8 o'clock in the morning and looking at everybody else going, gosh, it stinks to be you? Well, that's what we have in the reverse arena. And the forward side, we've been getting our teeth kicked in. I mean, as much challenge as we've had on the reverse side, the forward side, it's been very difficult. And I think historically, the two biggest things that we have to overcome when we talk about helping the forward folks understand about reverse, number one, no matter what company they work for, unless they're in a call center, taking orders, which those days are pretty much over now, they're calling that respective individual, Shannon, because of their name and their brand that they've worked their lifetime to posture and present and deliver time and time again. For that individual mortgage practice loan officer to trust an individual and a program that they don't quite understand or know is very risky to them. And then, of course, being able to be comfortable in their skin to have the perfect pivot to where they can introduce a senior partner that is proficient in reverse as an extension of their mortgage practice is very important. And if we can get past those two things, I do believe now is the perfect storm.
This week, how a reverse mortgage could save uninsured homeowners from a total loss. The Insurance Information Institute reports that 5% more homeowners have not purchased homeowners insurance than just 2 short years ago. How could a reverse mortgage literally help save the home that these at-risk individuals are living in? Let's do the math. Let's say a couple has a home worth $300,000 that's been fully paid off, but they cannot afford homeowners insurance. Should they lose their home to a natural disaster or fire, they could easily find themselves being homeless, not having enough funds to rebuild. However, by utilizing a reverse mortgage, that couple could take out an annual withdrawal from a home equity line of credit or available principal limit to help pay that annual homeowners insurance premium. Now, that specific strategy would give them both peace of mind and, most importantly, it would protect them from becoming potentially unhoused and losing their life. Stop blaming the HECM sandwich. Is a reverse mortgage the problem, or is it the delivery or consumer misunderstanding? To answer that, we have Dan Holquist in our exclusive interview. Where was that most unique analogy born?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that it all started with a conversation with a journalist several years ago. And it turns out somebody wasn't happy with their reverse mortgage. Clearly, they weren't given the product that they thought the originator had promised. And so I just very quickly replied, listen, if I walk into a restaurant and the wait staff sells me on their great double cheeseburger, this thing's fantastic, and then they bring me a chicken sandwich, well, where should I place the blame? And of course, the journalist laughed, and I said, no, seriously, the chicken sandwich is great. The chicken sandwich did nothing wrong, and only a lunatic would blame the sandwich for poor service. But that's entirely what we do with the reverse mortgage all the time. The public complains about the reverse mortgage. The product is great, so make sure you place the blame where it belongs.
Well, Dan, I have to say right here, this Popeye's chicken sandwich is amazing. I ordered it online on my mobile app. It was there at the restaurant with a friendly employee to meet me and hand me the bag. But they did forget the napkins. So I just have to say that.
Well, see, that's the problem with Popeyes. They are the gold standard of chicken sandwiches. It's a fantastic sandwich, but sometimes the service is poor, right? And so you're kind of playing right into the analogy. I, by the way, got a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. It's not a Popeyes sandwich. I don't think it's as good, but boy, the service is outstanding, right?
You probably got napkins in your order too.
Absolutely.
So the chicken sandwich has been, I thought it was a great analogy because I think when you used it with that reporter, I think you drove home a very important point. What are some of the service and delivery issues that we see with the HECM sandwich per se?
Well, we could talk about the sandwich size versus the cost. So we could go that direction.
Sure.
We could say, hey, the consumer eats the sandwich too quickly and gets sick. Are we to blame the chicken sandwich there? Of course not. Right? There needs to be some personal accountability on the borrower side. But as far as the servicer goes, or the product itself, the price of it. And I know this plays well into some of the commentaries you've had on your site over the last few days. Things like IMIP charges, or the HECM Saver product, a junior sandwich, if you will, that was available for 3 years.
True. And, we're looking at, well, let's talk about the plate size. You have a couple different plates, Dan. Let's tell our viewers.
This is what the reverse mortgage looked like in 2009. Okay, in 2009, the chicken sandwich filled up about 62 to 90% of the plate being the home value.
It looks
right? So FHA gets compensated based on the size of the plate, not based on what the consumer is consuming.
Okay. Now, that sandwich, I notice it's been strategically and meticulously cut. What do those cuts represent?
It has. Okay, so that was 2009. This is what we have right now. I can eat 60% of this sandwich right now. I have to actually take 40% of the sandwich, put it in a doggy bag, and I can't touch that thing for a year. But property values have improved. All right, so this is the plate we have now. All right, so the proportions are out. They're out of whack. I think we would all agree that maybe 2% upfront mortgage insurance premium is a little high. Knowing the sandwich size is getting smaller, the plate's getting bigger.
And that's a wrap of our special edition of the Top 10 Stories of 2023 on HECM World. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you thought about some of those segments. How did those predictions work out? A few were on, a few were off. Also, if you would share this special episode on LinkedIn, we thank those that are doing that. And don't forget, we have a YouTube channel where you can subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you never miss an upcoming episode. And each and every week, we bring you the most relevant reverse mortgage news that we can curate for you in our weekly podcast, which is both in an audio and video, HECM World Weekly. You can listen on Apple Music, Spotify, and Podbean, and also watch these episodes in our video edition on HECM World and YouTube. Thanks again for joining us, and be sure to return next week for more reverse mortgage news, commentary, and analysis that you only find here at HECM World.